guys, this is the first time where I think I get a chance to talk to you, and it's not a red carpet, it's not an award show, so this is kind of weird for me. But I still have to say congratulations on the Juno Awards, the nomination. You guys were fantastic down there. How has 2018 so far been for you guys?
2018's been really great. We toured a bunch. We put out a record that we're really proud of. We had a great time at the Junos. Our son is almost 4 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, we also took the big step of turning our live show into an actual rock and roll band as opposed to doing looping, which we had done for years. So that feels. I know it's a production call to some degree, but it really feels like we got reintegrated ourselves with a certain organic process that we had wanted to do. So I think that was really special.
Yeah. It's never a dull moment. It's been a great year so far.
Doesn't sound like ever a dull moment. You guys are here for this songwriting event. How does it feel getting a chance to really get to talk about the songs? A lot of times when you're doing interviews, it's this, it's that, whatever, but you never really get into the depth of what the songs are about, whatever. How did it feel to get a chance to do that here?
I love talking about songs. For me as a songwriter, I really think it's important to be saying something, tell a story, and for me, it's not just like wallpaper. It's not, for me, there are a lot of different layers to our songs and where we're coming from and what we're talking about and what we're feeling. And the process is always different. There's no rule book. So I love discussing that and talking about the different ways in which a song comes together.
I'm going to ask you then, what is the process between the two of you in writing songs over the years?
I mean, it's constantly evolving, but typically we write separately. We're both very solitary writers, but because we share a brain in a lot of ways and a house, these songs seep into the other person's being, and we familiarize ourselves with the other person's songs before we've even sat down and played them for the other person. And then of course the editing process, which is a massive part of the creative process of finishing a song. We're heavily involved in each other's songs. Sometimes we'll come to each other with a song and that's it, it's done. We're like, yeah, it's great, we both love it, it feels good. And then other times it's like, to make it feel like a Whitehorse song, to feel like our song, we have to kind of pick it apart and put it back together and rewrite things and approach it in a different way. And then once we get to a place where it feels good, where we can both take ownership over it or feel a connection to it, then it feels like a Whitehorse song.
You told a great story about your mom and helping you change the way you did your songwriting. Could you talk about that story again?
Well, my mom's Irish, and I think somehow this matters to the story. I don't know, because she at one point implored me to never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And I know, obviously that's a cliche that comes from a number of different people, but I think as young songwriters, sometimes you tend to think that you have to be honest. And I think there are different ways of being honest. I think you do have to be honest, but I think you have to be honest in terms of the spiritual thrust of your music. Like, are you trying to communicate a certain kind of empathy? Are you trying to communicate humor? And I think you have to be honest about those things. But I feel like fiction is a really valuable writing tool. I think, and sometimes songwriters, especially folk or serious songwriters, you can think of yourself as having to tell the truth about your life all the time, and I think that's maybe overrated to some degree. I think the job is to create something that people feel like they can relate to, and maybe on a really deeply personal level. Maybe it's about sex or dancing or partying or celebrating the great fortune we have of being alive, whatever. But I feel like actually, this is what happened in my life is really just one of many perspectives on how you can write songs and what kind of stories you can tell. They're not always the best one.
Do you think about when your songs get out there on where it could end up? I mean, one of the things we talked about today was placement. And it was funny, when I was listening to the interview and they were talking about like people shouldn't be so uptight about and stuff. What it hit me was I was thinking about when that company wanted to use the Johnny Cash song, Ring of Fire for Preparation H, and everybody went nuts about it. You know, it's like that was wrong. When is it right and when is it wrong?
I think it's a personal thing. I think it's might be one of those instances in life where you go by your gut feeling, because I think if it feels okay, I mean, obviously if you stand behind something, that's clear. Like whether or not you support the message, that's usually clear. But if it's something like that, like the Johnny Cash song, where like it's just like, that just doesn't feel right, or you know, I think it's a personal thing, and you kind of have to just go with that.
I also think that's a drastic example, the most literal example that you can come up with, right? Preparation H or Johnny Cash or whatever. It conjures up such a very specific image. It would, if it was really successful, and that of course would be the idea, it would forever change the way that song exists in the realm.
Yeah.
And I understand wanting to be careful about that. I don't know that you want to be precious about it, but I understand, like, I don't want this song to all of a sudden become a car commercial for the end of time immemorial. I don't want it to sound like Harley Davidson forever. I want it to be a song that has something else associated with it. I mean, you know, maybe not. I don't know. But I think that's a consideration.
They call me mellow yellow, just butter it.
Exactly. But it's also the same thing too when politicians try to use your music, and a lot of times, you know, artists like yourself go, wait a second. No.
And you notice how often politicians will use a piece of music, and you know they didn't clear it, they didn't vet it, because immediately the artist goes, hey, whoa, take it down, which tells you they were not asked in the first place. And it's interesting the liberties that people will feel they can take. I think we're protected in our industry to some degree, at least as far as commercial companies are concerned, because there's liability issues, and they can't just put a song in a commercial and then back down when you get a cease and desist. You actually just can't do it. For some reason, politicians can. I don't know why. They shouldn't be able to.
No, they shouldn't. But you guys are doing something I think is probably the most difficult thing to do. You guys announced you're working on a Christmas album?
Yeah. Oh no, did I put it out there into the world? Is this actually happening? Okay. Yeah, you know, it's something we've thought about every year, and we're usually like, nah, we don't want to do that. And this year we were like, okay, well, no pressure. We're just gonna sit down and like see if we can write anything that feels real. And
so I'm gonna jump in. How do you write a Christmas song when there are so many classical songs that we were like, from the day we were born, it's been drummed into us. How do you do something different?
I know. I mean, we didn't think we could. Like it was like, how do we do this? But we actually sat down and separately again, and we came up with like some heartfelt stories that feel really and coming at it from different angles. Like I wrote a couple like Scroogey type songs and some more like kind of beautiful lullaby, and you wrote some more like celebratory, and you know, we're doing it in our Whitehorse way. Like they sound like Whitehorse songs, but the stories we are telling take place around the holidays.
I think maybe a good way to think of it is, you know, love songs have been written to death.
Yes.
For every Christmas song, there are 20 love songs, and yet there will still be more love songs. Certain things are universal, and I don't think that Christmas per se is universal, but family is universal, and sharing food with people you love is universal, and being in a time of year when life tends to grind to a halt because it's cold, you know, in the northern hemisphere, that's kind of universal. So there's all kinds of stories to be found between the cracks, where maybe we're not singing about the birth of Jesus Christ, or maybe we're not singing about I don't know, you know, but there's other ways of telling the story. There's other ways of figuring out what does it mean to you. We have a child who's almost 4 years old. He loves the mystery and the magic and the fiction and the make believe and the awe, mystery. He loves it. He loves it. So looking at the world through his eyes, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I think I can tell a story about this time of year, because I was 4-year-old once too, and I remember how much I loved it. So,
and which goes to one of my last questions too. Think about this. As much as we enjoy Whitehorse music, and when we're listening to it, whether in the car or with our friends or whatever else, a Christmas album, Christmas songs, completely different. This is an extremely special time where now you guys can be able to share what other artists have been able to share for so many years. Now you're going to seep into those other kids who are going to go, man, I'm 50 years old, but I remember that Whitehorse Christmas song. You know?
I hope people relate to it that way. You know, we're telling honest stories, and we've been having a lot of fun putting it together and feeling good about it. So we hope that people connect to it.
I can't wait for this. Other than that, what's going on tour-wise? Anything else going up?
Well, we're actually doing it. We're just about to dig into the summer touring festival season. Skookum in BC. We're doing. Wow, there's a whole handful. I'm going to forget all of them, but
Folk on the Rocks
up north and Yellowknife, which is going to be wonderful. It's a great festival. Always a great opportunity to go up north. We're also just finishing touches on the Northern South Volume 2, which is us paying tribute to some of our favorite blues artists: Howlin' Wolf, Jimmy Reed, Willie Dixon, Etta James. So
that's coming up.
Yeah,
that's coming up. We're just mixing that right now, so it's almost done.
Website, Twitter, all that stuff. Where do we go to follow you?
We are Whitehorse, and that's our Instagram handle. That's our website. You can find us on Facebook as well.
Well, guys, congratulations on this. Cannot wait for Christmas now, because now I got a new album to listen to. Just congratulations with all the success.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.